So we kind of did this already on Tuesday when you did the half sheet, but let's go over it. When you see zero product property, I'm actually just asking you to factor. You're going to take this and you're going to factor it. So let me make it a little bit bigger. So I do my box, first guy, last guy, circle. I'm trying to figure out the ways to get negative 12 and also add to 4. So 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. Here's my magic winner. Since that is negative, the bigger number is negative. So x plus 2, x minus 6 equals 0, x equals negative 2, x equals 6. Okay? So now I solved it by factoring. Now I'm going to do the same thing, start again, and solve by completing the square. So the first thing I do is I make my x squared 0. Move the 12 over because I'm going to complete a square. I'm going to make my box. I'm going to do that down here. So first guy, I don't have a last guy, so I split that. X, x, negative 2, negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. So this is what has the power. So I'm going to go plus 4, plus 4. Okay? So now I'm going to take care of the left side. I know it's a little bit messy, but 4 plus 12 is 16 equals. Now I'm going to take this x minus 2 that made a square and go x minus 2 squared. Now that I have the squared, boom, I'm going to square root. I can actually take the square root of 16. It's 4. Plus or minus. Last thing, add 2. So I have two answers. 2 plus 4 and 2 minus 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So if you look right here, I got the same exact answer. You're going to have a question on your test that's going to be exactly like this, and I'm going to say solve it all 3 ways. That means all 3 of your answers need to be exactly the same. But if all I say is solve, all you have to do is pick one of them. Okay? So be aware of that, and we'll go over that more on Friday when you start the review. All right, quadratic formula. A equals 1, B equals negative 4, C equals negative 12. Let me write down the formula right here. There's the formula. So I'm going to go negative b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. Remember, the most difficult part is this, so I'm going to take care of that down there. A negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 1 times 12 is 48, and a negative times a negative is a positive. 16 plus 48 is 64, and the square root of 64 is 8. So since I can take it, I take it. And don't put the square root anymore. Negative of negative is positive, plus or minus 8 over 2. Split it. 4 plus 8 over 2, 4 minus 8 over 2. 4 plus 8 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. Same thing I got over there. 4 minus 8 is negative 4, divided by 2 is negative 2. Same thing I got over there. I don't care which way you do it, but I think this way is the easiest. But if you don't know how to do the box, complete the square. If you don't know how to complete the square, do the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula always works, but make sure you know how to do it. Okay? Let's try the next one. The next one I'm actually going to change, and I want you to make this a 12. So make that a 12 for me, please. Okay. So first I'm going to do it by factoring. So I go y equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 12. Set it equal to 0. I know I have to do my whole box. 2x squared, negative 12, negative 24, 124, 2, 12, 3, 8, 4, 6. I need to figure out which one adds to 4. That doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, and that doesn't work. What that means is that you cannot factor it. So if you wanted to factor it, you just don't have a choice. You cannot factor it, okay? So be aware of that. Make sure you know when it's factorable, when it's not. But I would try it, And then if you feel like I'm not sure, then skip to the next one. Let's solve by completing the square. Instead of writing y, I'll put a 0. Now remember, in order to solve by completing the square, I need to make a square, but it says 2x squared. So I need to get rid of that 2. And then I'm left with x squared plus 2x minus 6 equals 0. Add 6 to both sides. I get 6 equals x squared plus 2x. Come down here, make my box. X squared. Half of 2 is 1x. 1x, x, 1, 1. 1 times 1 is 1. That 1 has the power, so give it power on both sides. 1 plus 6 is 7. Take the yellow. That's your squared. So x plus 1 squared. Square root, square root. Don't forget the plus or minus. I cannot take the square root of 7, so I leave it. Now I need to solve by subtracting 1. So I have negative 1 plus square root of 7 and negative 1 minus square root of 7. I'm going to get my calculator, and I'm going to turn it on and go negative 1 plus the square root of 7, and that's 164. And if I try to second PRB it, it won't let me, so always check. Now I'm going to go negative 1 minus the square root of 7 equals negative 364. Oops. Now, by doing that, I realized, of course, I couldn't factor. If I would have been able to factor when I second PRB'd it, it would have turned into a fraction, but it didn't. So I know that it couldn't have been factored. Now, I'll do the quadratic formula. Here it is right here. A is 2, B is 4, C is negative 12. Negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C, all divided by 2 times A. Most difficult part for me is this. Square root of 16. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 12 is 96, and a negative times a negative is a positive. 16 plus 96 is 112. Okay. Now, I can't take the square root of 112, so I leave it. Negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 112 over 4. Give me a second here. Okay. Now I split it. Negative 4 plus the square root of 112 over 4. Negative 4 minus the square root of 112 over 4. Move this up. Now, in my calculator, here's what I'm going to need to do. Negative, let me move the calculator up so you can see it. Move that a little bit. So I went negative 4 plus the square root of 112. Enter. Then divide that answer by 4. And I get 164. Clear it up. Negative 4 minus the square root. Oops. Of 112. Enter. Then divided by 4. X equals negative 364. So if you look, this answer and this answer are exactly the same. So now what I need you to understand is when you do these problems, you have a choice. You can do whatever you want. Now I'm going to hint you, this is your homework, by the way. What I will do is there are choices. Number 1 is a 2 by. Number 2 is a 1 by. Number 3 is a square root. Number 4 is quadratic formula. And number 5 is completing the square. I won't do the problems for you, but what I will tell you is which ones are applicable. So this one, you just set it equal to 0. This one is the square root, so it's number 3. This one's set up for completing the square, but you can either do number 4 or number 5. You can't do the box for that one. It doesn't work out. This one, you have to do the quadratic formula. You can't even do completing the square, because if you divide by 4, you end up getting a fraction. So that's your only choice, is the quadratic formula. This one, you can do a 1, you can do a 4, or you can do a 5. This one, you can do a 1, a 4, or a 5. So all three of these you could factor, quadratic formula, complete the square. This one is they have something the same, so that's 2. You could do the quadratic formula, and you could even complete the square. If you complete the square, then you're not bringing anything over because there's nothing over to bring. And know that if you're doing that, A is 1 for a quadratic formula, B is -8, and C is 0. Okay? This one's kind of crazy, so I'm going to start it for you. Plus x, I'm going to go 1x. And then -5, -5. So I'm taking this and moving it over. Taking this and moving it over. So it's x squared minus 6x minus 3 equals 0. From there, you can't do the box, no numbers multiply to 3 and add to 6. But you can do the quadratic formula, or you can complete the square. This one, you can do the quadratic formula, but you can't complete the square, because you could divide by 3 here. Here, yes, but there, no. Okay? So your homework is to get this page done. Get it done now. Not writing the numbers, actually doing the problems.